Welcome to Acquisitions Anonymous, Internet's #1 podcast about buying and selling small businesses. Today, myself, Travis Jameson of Capital Pad, and horse lover Heather Anderson of Viso Capital went through and talked about a deal that I found fascinating because I was trying to find a deal that Heather would love. So stay tuned and understand if she liked it or learn if she didn't. Here you go.
We'll set Acquisitions Anonymous.
Hello, another episode of Acquisitions Anonymous.
We don't have 100% beard anymore.
And thumbs downing on just the plus inventory alone.
So many founders and operators still use their personal number to talk to customers. And sure, that works when you're just starting out, but eventually it starts costing you time and money. That's where OpenPhone comes in. It's a modern business phone system that lives in an app. You get one number and your whole team can use it like a shared inbox for calls, text, voicemails, all in one place. Somebody reaches out to you, your ops lead can reply. Your co-founder can follow up. You don't have to be the bottleneck anymore. And if you miss a call, OpenPhone's AI agent picks it up, answers questions, and even logs new leads for you. It's one of those tools that makes you wonder why you didn't switch over sooner. 60,000 businesses already have. OpenPhone is offering our listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/AAPOD. That's OPENPHONE.com/AAPOD. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers.
Heather, what's new with you in Southern California?
Well, it's hot here. It's gotten hot. But it's what's new is I am just cranking away on loans, and we just hit our 100th loan funded since we started. So 100 loans in 2 years.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
It's pretty fun.
Is the mean size of your loans higher, bigger, or smaller than the mean for SBA in general?
It's higher in general. I mean, there's a lot of really small loans where they're just working capital loans in the general program. When you're doing business acquisitions, it tends to skew the average a bit higher. So our average is closer to about $3 million loan size, and the true average is probably somewhere south of $1 million. In the whole program. Yeah.
So you're funding pretty much those like typical $4 or $5 million searcher deals day in, day out.
That is right. Yeah. The kind of plain vanillas are our specialty. We do some smaller ones here and there. We'll even do some of those pari passu deals sometimes, but most of it's right down the middle. Like $750,000 to $1 million of EBITDA companies.
So the US is doing about, let's say, 5,000 SBA loans a year, right? That's
just business acquisition.
Just business acquisition.
That's only about 20% of the program. The other 80% of the program is startups such as franchises, like franchise development, and existing businesses using working capital or buying real estate or equipment.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then all of your loans are business acquisition, 100%?
All of mine are business acquisition.
So if you just did your 100th of that,
mm-hmm.
that means you're potentially on a run rate to do 200 this year because we're about halfway through the year.
Yeah, we are on a very good run rate at the moment. So yeah, probably close to that, if not that.
There's an outside chance you hit 5% of the total SBA market this year.
I was looking at it the first year. I think we were at like 2.5%, and I thought, well, that's actually a number. It's a real.
That's going to become the SBA. It's just going to be you.
I think that the service is needed. I think that's why it's working, why it's popular, is that this is not an easy loan to get. This is not an easy analysis to do. Working capital is not just DSCR. There's a whole lot that people need assistance with, and so I think that's why it's so popular.
And that's why we send people to you. Like, I don't know how to do this stuff. It's tough.
Yeah, it is not easy.
A guy did an advisory call with me yesterday, and he's looking at buying a moving business. And he asked me a very specific question about SBA. I was like, "Oh, I know the lady you need to call."
Send them my way, please.
I was like, I could give you a high level recommendation, but in terms of, because I think one of the things that makes SBA so difficult for a lot of people when I talk to them is the goalposts are always moving and the rules are always changing. So he was asking me about, okay, how would you do this? How would you structure this in order to deal with potential downside risk? And I was like, okay, well, here's how I would do it. But like the SBA rules and regulations and the laws behind it are changing so quickly. that's where you need to work with a Heather
Yeah,
to
you
help
have to
that
know the
stuff.
latest. And it's not just the SBA rule latest. The banks shift their credit preferences around. What's okay in one 6-month period, the next 6-month period, nobody wants that. They want it structured a different way. So it's a ever evolving, set of rules and set of conditions that you have to meet.
Do you have a specific example of that?
Uh, yeah. I mean, the amount of equity that has to come from the person giving the personal guarantee. At one time when banks were more aggressive, they could let somebody get almost all of it from investors if they had the right kind of investors. And now they're saying, either 51% of their own liquidity, their own assets, or 15% of the total amount of equity has to come from the person running the day-to-day who's giving the personal guarantee. Now, that's not an SBA rule. That's credit, guidance.
That seems like a lot for some of these deals.
It can be. Yeah.
I kind of feel like they're all in regardless. If they're taking this SBA debt, like there's
It's
no
a PG.
escaping. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a PG. Yeah, you're not escaping. So whether they have the capital or not, but I don't know, makes the banks feel happy.
I agree. But those attitudes from the banks and the SBA, they shift. And that's one of the more recent shifts that we've seen.
All right. Speaking of shifting things around, let me pitch you on this deal.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I can't
You
believe
did.
All right. So this is the leading horse transport business in Essex, UK, and it is relocatable and for sale. So do we need to first figure out where the heck Essex, UK is?
Well, I know where UK is, but I don't know where Essex is.
Well, if you're going to transport horses, you're going to have to move. It is.
No, it's relocatable.
It's relocatable.
I don't know how that would be.
It is northeast.
You can live in California.
Right.
It is uber rural northeast London. So if you go northeast up the M11 towards Chelmsford, that's where it is. And one of our UK listeners is yelling at the machine right now for me mispronouncing the name because it's actually Shabbosburger. All right. All right. So this is the leading horse transport business in Essex, UK. The asking price is 200 to 500,000 pounds. Turnover is 200 to 500,000 pounds, which I think translates to American English as revenue. And net profit is 100 to 250,000 pounds. So in theory, they're making 100 to 200-ish, and their revenue is 300 to 500-ish. And they're asking somewhere around just what their revenue is. It's an established and trusted business for sale, and it's an exceptional opportunity to acquire a well-established and highly reputable equine transport business. With a strong client base and a proven track record of excellence, this business is known for its professional, reliable, and safe horse transportation services across the UK and beyond. Operating with a modern, well-maintained fleet, this company ensures the highest standards of welfare and efficiency, making it a trusted source for owners, breeders, and equestrian professionals. The company benefits from repeat business, solid industry relationships, and a strong brand presence, making it an ideal investment for an equestrian enthusiast or business-minded individual looking to enter or expand in this lucrative sector. With growth potential and an established reputation, the sale represents a turnkey business in the thriving equine industry. Serious horse lover inquiries only. Currently located in Essex, you could have bigger lorries, which is what they call trucks over there, and more lorries as well as franchise possibilities. It's the biggest business of their size within the county and surrounding areas. Most competitors are much smaller operations with a singular horse box. They want to go into their selling because they want to go into the building of horse boxes full time, and they have potential synergy with this business, the business for sale for ongoing builds. They have 5 employees and it's been around for 8 years, and they are willing to support you once you own the business, which you can run from home, Heather. And it says San Diego / SoCal right here.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So,
yeah,
Travis, what do these guys do? Do you understand?
They move horses. They put them in a nice fancy trailer with a big truck, and then they transport them from show to show or from field to field or barn to barn. I don't know exactly what all.
Yeah, it's a horse taxi. Is that right, Heather?
Yeah, it's a horse taxi. And, don't know whether it serves the racing industry, which is big in the UK, and is also big here. But, could be show horses, where it's, it would be interesting to know what kind of horses, like kind of what niches, what kind of customers they serve. But that's what it is. It's horse trailers, large ones, I'm sure, and smaller ones. You've got 2-horse trailers, and then they get longer and longer from there, and you can have 16 horses in a big truck. But that's what they do, and it is not easy. It's not like transporting boxes of things. You have to get a horse to walk onto the trailer, and they don't always want to do that. There are horses who take a little bit of special care to kind of get them to step up onto a trailer, and you have to really know what you're doing. Your drivers have to know what they're doing, and I would imagine to own this business, you have to know your way around horses really well, and horse people, which are crazy. They're known to be.
So I routinely here in Texas see cattle and sheep and even horses being trailered around the place. I mean, it's interesting to me that more of these farmers don't have their own hauling operations. It seems like if you're going to have a couple 100,000 pounds tied up in farming and even potentially the horses, because horses are not cheap last I checked, like having a trailer and a pickup truck is kind of like, that's what every rancher seems to have in Texas. Is that just a weird thing here, Heather?
Are you ready to take the leap into business ownership, but you don't know where to start? Well, look no further than Acquisition Lab, the premier resource for entrepreneurs seeking to buy their dream business. Founded by Harvard MBA and acquisition expert Walker Deibel, the lab is your fast track to success in the search, diligence, and acquisition process. With hands-on support, world-class resources, and a community of like-minded entrepreneurs, Acquisition Lab gives you the tools and confidence to navigate every step of the journey. And we're proud to call Walker and Chelsea, the lab's director, longtime friends of the podcast. They're passionate about helping entrepreneurs like you take the next big step. So don't wait to make your business ownership dream a reality. Visit acquisitionlab.com today to learn more and schedule your free consultation. And when you do, be sure to tell them the Acquisitions Anonymous podcast sent you.
Horse trailers are expensive, right? Are there dedicated ones versus like a cattle trailer? Maybe I'm wrong.
They're not that. I mean, they are expensive depending on how fancy you want to make it. But I think the problem is it's like anything else. You need a specialist if you're moving a lot of horses, a lot of different places. So they're probably serving not just the person who owns 2 horses. Like I had 2 horses. I had a 2-horse trailer and a truck. And yes, I did all my own transportation, but I also didn't take my horses very often. And so sure, I could manage it myself. But if I'm running a barn, a show barn where I've got 25 horses and they're going to different shows, or I need bigger trailers, I might want to outsource that. So I think it's like anything else. You outsource it to a specialist and it just makes your operation a little bit easier. That's why I kind of tend to also think they might be serving the racing industry, because that's something very typical that the racing industry would do, is hire haulers to take their horses to the various tracks and places they have to go.
So Travis, what am I buying here?
So this is actually what I've been looking at in the background. I think maybe I've said this before, like, at Capital Pad, we kind of try to avoid the companies that are essentially just a website and some SEO, or that can be disrupted by that. I kind of feel like that's what this is. Like you're getting some relationships, maybe a website, and they don't even think doesn't even mention the trailer or the trucks or anything like that. I don't know what you're buying. And I did take I'm an SEO guy, so I took a look at that. Like you could rank number 1 for like horse transport services. And I don't know, I could do it in probably a weekend. This isn't like an overly complicated thing. For all my SEO geeks out there, like the top ranking site is like a DR9. So essentially nothing. It doesn't seem like there's much to it unless this is like very heavily dependent on relationships. And I'm not convinced of that.
I think it is relationship dependent, in my opinion, just because that's kind of the way the whole horse world works. You have your vet that you like, and even though there's other vets to choose from, that's the one you trust. And then you have the same thing with a farrier, the guy that does the shoeing and so it's a high trust industry. And I think there is, even with the transport, there's probably relationships really matter, because the horses can get hurt. Like I said, they're not easy always to load and unload. And so, and you need, a good driver. So I think there's probably a customer list here is what you're getting. And you're right. I don't know. I'm not clear on whether you're getting those lorries, those trucks. I'm going to use the word turnover now, by the way, when I speak to my clients. What is the turnover in this business? And they're going to look at me very confused, but I'm going to feel sophisticated when I ask that. But I think that you're not getting a whole lot other than maybe the customer list and maybe a website.
So it seems like this might be obviously a terrible thing for a lot of people to buy. But for the right person who's just like a horse lover, doesn't understand any marketing, doesn't have the relationships, likes the industry, doesn't mind looking for like a high paying job, like, I don't know, you can probably buy this thing pretty cheap. Like, yeah, buy yourself a nice job in an industry you love. That could make sense.
Well, and if you want to live out in rural Essex, I think that's something to be thought about here, right? Like this person lives out in Shamuth or wherever that is, like middle of nowhere. Like that's where you're probably gonna have to live with this thing because, I think Bill and I talk about this a lot. If you own a cleaning company, at some point you will stick your hand into a toilet, right? That's just how it works. And if you own this company, at some point you will be driving a horse down the road because everybody in your company gets the flu, right? And so I think that's part of this thing, probably why it doesn't, it's not costing that much is you are realistically buying yourself a job and you got to move out to nowhere in the UK.
I didn't get the impression there were any employees. I feel like it was
just five.
It said
Oh,
five.
did I missed that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was
And
kind
they
of
could be
surprised too.
contract employees in something like this. It could just be drivers.
It's a guy, hey, what you doing Thursday?
Yeah.
Got a gig.
I think you could carve out a pretty cool niche for a business like this if you became renowned as the folks who are like, we get your horse there safely. Like that's what matters. Because horses are not cheap and people have a ton of money invested in them. And then they also have relationships with the horses. So it's kind of like, baby transport. Like you don't want something to go wrong with your baby. And I think that's a cool niche that something like this could basically have premium pricing power if they did.
I think you're onto something, Girly. Like I'm looking at the competitors, like all the UK horse transport places. None of them start with saying, we'll get your horse there safely and happily. It's just, it looks like you're ordering a moving quote or something like that.
When your horse absolutely positively has to get there on time, you call Horse X. Sorry, that joke's only going to make sense to people old enough to remember FedEx advertisements. So
I remember.
That's why I love you, Heather. You're the best. All right, so where are you guys on this one, Heather? Well, you're an obvious yes, so we'll skip you.
Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding.
Of course. This is the dream. As long as I don't have to drive them. I don't really want to drive the truck because it's nerve-wracking. But I think, living out in the rural UK and spending time with horse people, it sounds great. I'm buying it.
I hate sunshine. I love it.
You don't see the sun out there. It's not pleasant.
True. I would lose the sun.
For the right person who's a horse nerd and wants to live in Chalmers, I think it'd be totally cool. I also think this would, we've talked about this in a few of our episodes, especially where Mills last week, you weren't here, Travis, but Mills wanted to buy a cattle farm, a dairy farm out in Romania. And I was like, what are you doing, bro? Like, seriously. But I told him that would be great if he went to Netflix and turned it into a reality show. I think it would totally win. And I think a couple of young people buying this horse transport business could kill it with a cool YouTube set of series. Totally
like the new Clarkson's farm or something like that.
Totally, yeah. Mills's dairy farm. Well,
I'd watch it.
I don't. Heather, do you watch the guy who does like the hoof, like the hoof GP and the hoof
farrier.
doctor?
My friend who does not have horses was telling me how she loves watching that. And I'm like, what? You're watching someone trim the horse's hooves? She goes, yeah, I love watching it.
Travis, have you seen these guys?
I didn't know it existed until she told me.
I haven't seen the show. It's in my uncle's in his 70s and still a farrier.
Yeah.
It's amazingly, his thighs are the size of tree trunks from doing this for 30 years.
Job.
It turns out to be incredible YouTube and TikTok content because every one of his patients follows a narrative arc. And so he's kind of like a doctor for these horses' feet. So he comes in and there's like this setting of the scene and a discovery of what's going on. Then you start to see these anticipation of stuff. And then he like gets in there and he finds there's like this huge blood pustule like in the thing. And then he has to like resolve it. And then there's this tension. And like it really turns into like this beautiful, perfect social media thing.
I can't believe that has become entertainment because I would have never thought, but that is interesting.
People are desperate for narrative. If it follows the hero's journey, people will watch it. Just watch every single video that people like. It's hero's journey. Totally that way.
But to your point, you're putting this idea of a Netflix show with buying a business together. Somebody's got to do it. Now I feel like that is such a smart idea, actually, for someone to do if they have the right connections. to get the show going. And like, it has to be ideally from before we even close the deal. Like, wouldn't that be a great show?
Yeah. I think this would be fantastic, actually, especially with
That
the
would be
searcher
great.
industry booming, and you buy it, and you have all the high hopes. You get your ass handed to you for the first year, and then
Yeah,
work your way out of it. Oh, it sounds great.
it
So,
would be.
so Travis, you watch Clarkson's Farm. How much of the reason that show works do you think is because Jeremy Clarkson is just really, really entertaining? Or do you think it's like the setting, or what do you think is making that show work?
I've seen like 45 minutes of it, and I just think he's really, really entertaining. He's just really funny, but also like it's some, city guy, again, getting his ass handed to them on there. It's great.
I think it's. Have you seen any of those, Heather?
No, I
It's
have
pretty
not.
good. I recommend. He's kind of a little chauvinistic-y, whatever it is. So it doesn't get.
He's
shown,
a lot of things.
It
but
doesn't get shown at
entertaining
my house.
He is.
Yeah, okay, entertaining.
We don't watch
That's
it
what
over
we
here.
want.
No, I grew up on a farm. I learned early. I don't want that.
It's hard.
People live their lives like and then fantasize like, oh, I'm going to buy this farm and then live this great life. No, don't do it. Like, no. Suburbia is great.
Yeah.
Good for them. All right, so it sounds like we're all like not for us, but
Except for me.
except for Heather.
I'm moving.
All right.
Bye.
All right. If you enjoyed this episode, please tell a friend about the podcast. We enjoy making these, and we would also enjoy if more people watch them. So we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody, for being here.